Hello everyone, Chris England here. I play under the name Asaroth in Fire Emblem, and this is the start of the new portion of series that I'm doing for the Fire Emblem Japanese trailers. So this one's in English. I will be making a Japanese one very shortly afterwards. But let's get started with our Ascended Hero. Valencia's Hope. And we start with Celica. This time she's a colorless tome infantry, so she finally does have a third color now. So that means all she needs is a blue tome, and she has every single color of the tome family. Although, I am eventually hoping that she gets a staff version. That's just me. But for the illustration, we have Noi. And what I saw from their Twitter account, in addition to doing regular artwork of fantasy creatures and the like of usual illustrators, I also did see two specific Niji-sanji VTuber artworks, or sets of artwork for them. So that's something if I remember correctly. But I'm more focused on, as people know, the VAs. So Nao Toyama. She voices Ruka Sarashina from Rent-A-Girlfriend. She voices Lyria from Grand Blue Fantasy. And she voices from Kantai Collection the entirety of the Kongo series. So Kongo, Hiei, Kirishima, and Haruna, as well as the sisters Atago and Takao. So we got a very good lineup in terms of what she can do. And unlike Ishtar before her, her kit does not disappoint. We do start with Moonbow, Life and Death or Death 4, the B skills Soul of Zofia from her original legendary kit, so innate null follow-up for her own self, and a Desperation 3 effect. So during battle, ignore any foe's effects that either guarantee their own follow-up or deny units follow-up. And then if unit initiates combat while having 75% or less HP, she performs a follow-up attack directly after her first attack. And for our new C skill, we have Infantry Null Follow-up 3. So at the start of turn, any infantry units within 2 spaces of unit get the effect Null Follow-up. So we have something that's essentially a tactic skill, I believe would be tactic or wave, I believe is the best way to suggest this. This is something that I could eventually look at as being a very good skill. But I think once again, the main thing that these units always have is their weapon, Milla's Testament. First off, we've got the cooldown count -1. And then if she initiates combat or is within 2 spaces of an ally during combat, she gets attack speed +6, and she ignores any effects that would affect her cooldown count rate. So anything that says that -1 cooldown count -1 per attack, you ignore that. She also gets a damage buff to the tune of 10% of the foe's attack, and if she's in battle with at least 25% of her HP, and the opponent's attack would be fatal to her, she instead survives with 1 HP. So we have a very, very open kit with a lot of really good effects. First off, for the weapon, we just have a basic +6. We have self-only tempo. We have just a flat damage buff. And then we have a conditional miracle. Not only that, we have the Life or Death 4 stat alteration. We have Soul of Zofia, so Null Follow-up Null Follow-up 3, as well as Desperation 3. And then we have essentially a wave or joint hone effect for Null Follow-up for infantry only. So what we're going to be seeing is that this unit's going to hit fast, hit hard, and survive against a good amount of units, I believe. この地に実りよ。 to the brand new characters from Echoes, which there aren't that many left, unfortunately. But we start with Sweet Baby Sis. And Est is the only sister to continue her use of lances into her Echoes form, whereas her other two sisters, Katria and Paula, switched to swords. While they do have really good swords, I would say that Est being Lance keeps her the most true to who Falcon Knights really are. But for the illustration, we have Horiguchi Kosei, so veteran Fey artist. And then for the voice actress, we have Rie Murakawa. So from what I saw, she does have a very decent list, not as long as Miss Toyama, but we do have Ram from ReZero. We have one of the Amazon sisters of, I believe it's Loki's Guild, Tiona from Danmachi. And then we have Esha Mailer from the Altilia series of games. As for her kit, we have a unit that once again falls into the balancing between 4-star and 5-star. We do have the fact that she doesn't have a complete kit. There is no C skill, not even like a basic skill that you see a lot on units. But for her, and the preferred weapon is an either 4-star or 5-star. We've seen plenty of 4-star focuses that do have PRFs. But the main things that make her the 5-star are her tier 4 A skill and a brand new B skill. Now, granted, her weapon in and of itself does push her to 5-star even further, but I'll save that for later. So first off, we have Iceberg, as well as Attack Res Push 4. Admittedly, I am getting tired of push, but to each their own. And then for our new B skill, we have Flow Flight. If she initiates combat, during battle, she nullifies any effects that would deny her follow-ups, and then, if her speed is higher than the foe's speed minus 10, during combat, she buffs her damage output and reduces the damage taken by 70% of her res minus the foe's res, with a maximum pointage of 7. Now, while 7 does not sound as big, you got to remember that Spring Maria had a very similar effect, and she was a very big tank. And then for the weapon, we have the Tri-Edge Lance. So we have attack +3, we have Canto Remember +1, and then if she initiates combat or is within 2 spaces of an ally, she gets Spectrum +5, deals bonus damage equal to 20% of her resistance, and during combat, she takes 40% less damage from the first foe's attack. So what happens here is that we're seeing something very similar to Spring Maria, although she is a little bit watered down due to the fact that she is a regular unit, not a special unit. So what we have is just a flat stat buff, a damage reduction, and then damage buff, damage reduction, self-null follow-up, which on a flyer is very good. The only questionable thing that I always say is push. Push is, while I won't fully say it's outdated anymore, I will definitely say that there are better choices for the A skill. Catch Ideal is always an option. And then the fact that she is missing her C skill does make her a little bit less of a 5-star, but she's still a good 5-star. Now, one thing that I will note is that her Tri-Edge Lance does not offer the neutralizes effective against flyers effect, so you will need the Seal IOT Shield or just replace the A skill, but there are better choices again. And now we have our 4-star focus, the Wandering Blade. But of course, there's dragons, but there's no dragon zombies so far that I know. But to each their own, we do have Kamui, the Echoes Kamui, not the Fates Kamui. And once again, we have a 4-star focus sword infantry, which is something that we've been seeing a lot in recent banners, which While that is a good thing, that means that a lot of newer sword units are getting easier to pull, regardless of where you pull them from. It also does mean that their kits are going to be less filled. But onto the kits, the other stuff about him. For the illustration, we have another veteran for Faye, we have Rika Suzuki. And then for our voice actor, we have Shuhei Matsuda. Now, when I take a look at Mr. Matsuda's profile, I saw a bunch of roles that were either named in small or just background characters like Villager A, Teacher B, Student C, yada yada. But I did see 3 specific roles from My Hero Academia. I did see Moonfish, the villain in Bondage with the tooth-growing quirk. There's also Vlad King, the teacher for Class B of the Hero course. And then the number 10 hero as of the provisional exam, Gang Orca. So we've got plenty of potential with what he has. And his kit does not disappoint. First off, we have Luna, as well as a Ideal. This time it's Speed Defense Ideal 3, and this specifically is a great thing, for it is his 4-star skill. That means that he does not need to promote beyond to 5-star in order to get the 3 level. He does, however, need to go to 5-star in order to get the 3 for Attack Defense Oath. But again, that is a very open discussion as to if that's a good thing or not. And then for his brand new blade, we have the Upfront Blade Plus. At the start of combat, if the foe's HP is 75% or greater, during combat, he pluses attack speed plus 5 and nullifies any penalties to attack and speed. So, he's a very solid unit. He's a very solid 4-star unit. He's not 5-star quite yet. He does need a lot of care, merging, and he also needs a lot more skills. In particular, he's missing a B skill. But since there are very good B skills, even in the basic pool, that is not a problem. We're also missing an assist skill. The same thing on that one too. Once again, I am very glad that we are starting to see more of the ideals being open to 4-star as opposed to 5-star exclusives. So, meaning that you have to devote way more 5-stars to try and get multiple skills if you need to. But his kit is very, very good. Now, granted, he is a 4-star focus, so that does mean that he will lag behind some older 5-stars, especially even the ones that fall so squarely on the 4 to 5-star line, like S did in this banner. And now we have our brand new OC. Life Mother.
私はユーミル。生の国を守護する生命の竜。
Ymir. And once again, continuing with the Dragon Cavalry for the recent Dragons of lands in general, we have now a green to complement Nifl's blue and Moosepel's red. All we're missing now is the colorless. So, I will start with the art, which is something I do not do very often, but pupil design, beautiful. Motherly wreath behind her, beautiful. The flow of her dress, gorgeous. And the scenery of nature all ties together with her. So the illustrator Nichi Hayashi did an excellent job with her art. And then for our voice actress, we have Hiyori Kono, a relatively new voice actress. And by that, I don't mean that she recently started in like 2020 or 2019. I mean more the fact that she has very few roles to go on. And this was looking at what I kind of understood. The only one that I actually would kind of understand is the Kaho Komiya from Idolmaster, and that's about it. I do remember seeing mostly video games, so there is a chance that she's still starting out in her roles. I have seen some stuff on DL's site in the voice ASMR section, but to each their own. So hopefully we see some more of her work in the future. But onto her actual skills. And what a kit we have! First off, we have Rally Up Attack Plus. We have Attack Res Unity. We have a brand new Near Trace, Attack Res this time around. And then for her weapon, we have the Ever Living Breath. +3 to attack and adaptive damage as usual for Dragon Stones. But what really sells her is her support ability. If she's the target uses or is the target of either a movement or a rally skill. After movement, she, the target, the other ally, and then any allies within 2 spaces recover 10 HP and remove any penalties. And then at the start of combat, the standard, if the HP is 25% or greater, she gets Spectrum +5 and guaranteed follow-up. Now, all this is beautiful, but that does nothing compared to her C skill, which I argue is actually one of the better C skills. I mean, new unit, new C skill. Not surprising. But we have the Ever-Living Domain. If there's an ally within 2 spaces of unit, and all of those units within that condition get the following effect. During combat, +4 to both defense and res, and if unit's HP is 75% or greater and the opponent would do fatal damage, reduce that damage so the unit has a 1 remaining. So we have a Joint Drive Guard as well as a Joint Drive Miracle. Wow, just wow. This is a unit that is very good at support, at just being there, makes your team harder to deal with. We have very good support in the form of her weapon. Her weapon also acts as a good offensive. We of course have a rally up. We also have the Attack Res Unity as well as the brand new Near Trace, but the main selling point of her kit is her C skill. And then we have our new story. And what's this? Another new unit that we can recruit? Oh, goody, goody. Now we have Atlas, the Forest Muscle. So Atlas is not going to be in this banner, but instead he's just going to go straight into the 3 to 4 star pool. As such, his skill set, while it does have some value, is definitely lesser than what Kamui offers. First off, his art is done by Kotaro Yamada, and then his voice actor is Tooru Sakurai. So we have Pap Gunsmith from Grand Blue Fantasy, we have Tsukyu Juju from Overlord 2, we also have Gozu Tenno from Dragalia Lost. And then from Token Rambu, we have 3 separate roles. We have Tombo Kiri, Yamabushi Kunihiro, and Dodanuki Masakuni. As for his skills, we start at the bottom with his C skill, Threat and Attack Defense 2. We have Earth Boost 3. We also have Soul. And then we have a not-so-new weapon, but it's a new for its kind, the Stout Axe Plus. At the start of combat, if unit's HP is greater than or equal to 50%, grants attack defense +5, and if the foe can perform a follow-up attack, the first attack that the foe does is the damage is reduced by 50%. So, once again, kind of a plain unit. He is very good for what he does, but it is the fact that he does have that straight to 3 to 4 star-esque plainness to him. He's going to require, like Kamui, he's going to require a lot of actual support to get him to where he is. He's going to need a lot of actual extra work, but I don't see any real reason that he is a bad unit. It just does mean that he is going to need some work. And I do believe that his threaten is actually the 4-star, which makes acquiring attack defense menace just that much easier. And then you all know the rest. We get the Ascended Floret. If you pull Celica, you get the Spark after 40 summons. And then with the Spark, you get the Celestial Stone. So let's just skip that part. I do have a bone to pick with Celica's Ascended form. Specifically the fact that they chose Celica for the Ascended unit. And that is because her Ascended form really doesn't feel like it advanced in the story. It feels like it's between her base form as the Red Tome and then her legendary form as Queen. While I don't have any arguments about bringing Celica back in, I do kind of have an argument for the fact that there are, I believe most of the characters in Echoes are still missing alts. I think out of the ones that are technically recruitable, 80 to 90% of them don't have alts, because the only ones I can think of are Alm, Faye, Celica, of course, and then Lucas. And that's the only... Oh, Silk, too. But, again, I can't really think of much outside of those. And especially because there are other options. Because while May and Bowie may not have been the best choices, even though they could have wielded colorless tomes, the better option would have been Saber with a dagger. Hey, give him a better version of Gold Dagger as a colorless dagger infantry. You could have kept basically the same kit, just switch out the Soul of Zofia for null follow-up. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't hate her kit. I think that she's kind of what Ishtar was aiming to be in terms of like her kit value, the fact that she comes with so many skills built in. Ishtar was kind of plain in terms of her kit. It didn't really stand out aside from a weapon, and that's not good for an Ascended hero. But in terms of story, I feel like Ishtar was the more Ascended version. It showed that she actually understood that what she did mattered, that what she did had value, as opposed to what she was in the story, where it was kind of like following Julius because she really wants him to come back to his original self. She still loves him. She still loves her family, but she doubts herself every step of the way for what's happening. Celica, in this case, it's just a continuation of the realization that peace cannot just be achieved by fists. In other words, if war is inevitable and peace comes after, peace cannot be kept simply by the use of the sword and the lance. You have to be more willing to talk things out. But I feel like that's been her stick the entire time. I would put her at the solid 2 of the poll, solely for that Ascended Floret, and her kit is really good. I think the top poll is, of course, going to be Ymir. Ymir has a beautiful set of stats. She has very good support possibility. She has very good offensive possibility. And the C skill in question being the best is that ever-living domain. I won't say that it is the best skill, because I do think that Infernal, the null follow-up effect that Celica has, might be better depending on your team. This is definitely a very good unit. In terms of if you're looking for like a +1 project, definitely Est. She has very open options to work with. If for the A skill, I do very much wish that instead of the attack res push, which is actually starting to feel very, 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 very lazy at this point in terms of all pushes, not just attack speed. But instead, this would have been a very, very good opportunity to put in Brazen Speed Res 4. Because the only unit that has that, a Brazen Tier 4, is Summer Wolt, which, year 3, I think. So 3 years since we've had any kind of really good Brazen. As for her C skills, just something that either buffs her resistance or speed. Speed probably is the top just because it'll actively shoot off her flow flight. But she is a very good project unit. The +10 project is, of course, going to be Kamui, the 4-star, which will move to the 3 to 4-star pool. In general, he has a lot of potential. His upfront blade is really good. You could easily give him something different, like something in the next video. And then he also comes with a 4-star ideal, the Oath, an empty slot for a B skill. You can easily change his Luna to Vital Astra. You can put in for B the Spurn skill. There's options. There's options galore with what you can do with Kamui. I don't think that there's any reason to doubt what he can do. I do think that he is, even though he is a 4-star focus, he is a unit that might be slept on in favor of some other units, like the 5-star, like maybe a plus 10ing a Ascended Merida, or plus 10ing, let's see, I don't think Summer Edelgard works anymore, but for all in all, that's what I believe is in the banner. I think that Atlas is he's not really a dud because he doesn't come in the banner, but he does need a lot of work in order to put him to levels that allow him to fight on equal footing with other units. But that's it for now, and I will see you in the next video. Okay.